How's it going, folks? So this video is going to be on a LOADMASTer where I'm loading 223. I've been playing around with this thing for a while. Actually got it from a friend of mine. He didn't like the press. Actually, I have another one that's in 9mm. I don't mind them. I like to tinker, so excuse the mess. Right now my bench is a mess, but it's usually pretty clean. Right now I'm running a bunch of shells through this thing.
Hey Tank, this is Seth Howard with Zone 5. Somehow my Zello app got deleted from my phone. I was wondering if you could add me back into the Zone 5 stuff. Thanks.
Sorry about that, my phone was going off. But anyway, this press has been running okay. It hasn't been running 100%. So I did some tweaks to it, mainly on the case feeder. And to test this thing, I've already ran a couple full tubes through it, and it runs really well. And I also put on a kind of a guard, I guess. Whenever the shell goes down in there, it sets everything up and it holds it in place so it doesn't fall over. And I've also put on a if you notice here, there's a little tube. Okay, well, the front of it's open, but basically what I've noticed on this thing is whenever the shells drop down into it, they rock back and forth. Well, this thing stops the shells from doing that, and it also stops the side-to-side movement of it, so it keeps everything pretty straight and in line. Mainly the problem I was having was extra shells dropping down with it, and kind of following it in. So far I haven't had any of that, so I'm going to go ahead and set this thing up and see what happens here. Let me find my tripod so I can get this thing set up. Give me 1 second here, folks. Set that right there. Give me a second for me to get this thing set up. I should have been a little bit more prepared for this, but this is kind of my little room, my shed, I guess, my man cave. So let me get this thing set up here so that everybody can see what's going on. Drop this thing down. Actually, I really like the LOADMASTers. Price-wise, you can't beat them, and they're pretty decent. I like the powder setup. A lot of people don't like that, but I personally do. I've been able to check the powder in mine about every 10 rounds or so, and they're always pretty damn accurate. So okay, I'm going to set this thing up on here. Flip the camera around. Let's see if I can do this here. Let's see if I can turn it down. Practice it just right. It's kind of out of the way, but at the same time, not in the way of what I'm doing. Let's try and tip it down. Let's lower the guy down a little bit. Everybody can see the operation of it. Okay, so let's see if we can get that guy. All right. So bear in mind, this is the first video I made with this thing, so let's see what happens. Okay, so I already know I'm going to have to flip her up here. There we go. The cool thing about the little gate is it's actually kind of turned into a, it helps a little bit with the ejection. So far, so good. Okay, that's one full tube. This press is pretty smooth. I've had to do some tweaking to it just to get it to where I like it. But, and now keep in mind too, I want to mention that these shells are not, they're sized lengthwise, but I have not done anything to the necks of these things. I haven't done anything to smooth them off. I wanted to get kind of a real world worst case scenario. So the tops of these things are actually still rough. Let's see if I can bring them in just a little bit. Oh, that's way too much. Let's see. See if I can show them more about what this is doing here. So far I'm on the third tube. Oop, I just had my first one fall over, and I think it was because of the ejection. It wasn't because of it falling over. It was there. I'm gonna have to kind of look into that a little bit. Yeah, that one hit too, but it did knock the other one over. And it may be because the cases are empty. There's no weight behind them. I'm gonna have to load some on there to make sure. So, okay, we're on number 4. Okay, that's not gonna work. Let's see if we can. Okay. I think as long as I go relatively slow at the top, I think we're good to go. Essentially, what I ended up using was for the little gate, I had a spring at work that I used so that it twists back and forth, and then the gate itself is a big horseshoe nail. I used to do horseshoe nail stuff. So I got lucky and I found this stuff at a place. Actually, I had a farrier give me some, and they were big ones. And I've never used any of them until I decided to try this project. And I soldered it on a nut so that the thing's not moving all over the place. The nut orientates itself real easy on the threads, and it always comes back to the same place. I did a little tweaking to the slider, but not much, just sanding it to make sure it's a little smoother. But as you can see, for the most part, it's pretty much trouble-free. I'm not having any falling over issues, not having any shells actually follow another shell, and I can actually move them pretty quick. I just gotta, I haven't actually loaded any shells on this thing yet, so we're gonna have to see. And it's all gonna really depend on what it's like when there's weight. I have to see what it's like whenever the necks are cleaned up, the mouth of the shell's cleaned up, and go from there. But that's what I did. I'll do another kind of close up as far as the tube goes. Get this out of here. essentially, let's see, where am I at here? So, messing around. This whole front right here is open. And I actually need to spin it just a little bit. It's a little bit cockeyed. But I got it to where it just barely sits above the slider. There you go. You can kind of see a gap. Just enough to where it's not touching the slider. And it keeps everything straight. It doesn't let the shell go backwards. So it stays pretty flat underneath. The shell's above it. And so far so good. I haven't had any issues. I've just got a zip tie holding it up, and that tube is actually an extra tube that I had off of one of these case feeders that I wasn't using, so I decided to trim it and give it a shot. And you can tell I've sanded some of the corners on the slider. Mainly that was a lot of wear. This thing has kind of gone through a lot of stuff. So and then the spring. So essentially you can see everything kind of operation that way. Kind of tough to see everything with this camera. Let's see here. It's really tough to make everything out. Anyway, that's the idea, guys. Hope you like it. If you got any problems, you got any questions, hit me up on my feed. Thank you.